Welcome to Hack Chat. We are back live at Black Hat. As you know right now, I'm not there. Quick update. I was sick over the weekend. I took a COVID test. I was negative, thank God, but I was still sick. We living in a climate where you can't take any chances. So I decided to stay home. Welcome to Hack Chat. We are back live at Black Hat. As you know right now, this is what happens. I'm not there when you're live and things go wrong, but I got it. So quick updates before we get into this last interview of the day. Tomorrow, it's going to be really, really special. We're going to have Black Hat FOMO edition, meaning people didn't go to Black Hat that wish they went to Black Hat, and that's what we're going to have. So up at 10, my boy Stoke Frederick. That's going to be an amazing show. And then at 11:30, we have Jason Haddix, which is it's going to blow the roof off, and I'm excited for that one as well. But right now, we have my brother. And you might be looking at me and saying, why does he have all those chains on? Hold on. When I speak to him, I got to put on my glasses on. I'm going to put my glasses on because this is my brother. First DEF CON I went to, DEF CON 8, I met one person, and it was this guy. He took me under his wing. He showed me all the tools that he was using before I was even in the hacking scene. Andre Hall, how you doing? Please introduce yourself.
What's up, man? What's up, Marco? How you feel, man?
I'm doing good, man. I tell you right now, if let me know how the sound is. If it's echoey, if we're having problems, we'll try to fix it on the fly. But this is what life's about. I when we first met, I want to say I'm light years away from that person. But when we first met, I had a boombox, I had jewelry, I was still in New York City. I was from the Bronx. I still had a lot of slang. So I wanted to do a little retro, put my shades on, put jewelry on, and act like I was back in 2003. So this is a little upgraded situation in terms of streaming and everything like that. But Dre, it's been a long journey to get here. You're my brother. You're my best friend. And I needed you to be on Hack Chat. How are you doing? How is Black Hat over there? Is it what's the situation like?
Well, let me say this. Thank you for having me. And for those who don't know, I am Andre Hall. We'll keep it hacker security related. Senior security engineer. I work for a firm in Orange County, California, so Southern California. New Jersey native. I gotta always rep the East Coast because my man repping the Boogie Down Bronx.
Yes.
But I'm well. How is Black Hat? Black Hat is not the same Black Hat from 2019. I can tell you that much. It is definitely different.
Is it a ghost town?
It's a ghost town.
It is a ghost town. Okay.
Yep.
Let's take it back to 2003, right? How we met is we had a boombox and it was blasting rap music, and it was this white boombox, and we had the old iPod in there blasting hip hop music, and it was like East Coast. I'm from the East Coast, and it was history ever since.
I'm walking down the hall trying to get registered for DEF CON
at Alexis Park, by the way.
At Alexis Park, way back in the day, and I hit a hip hop, and I'm like, what? Hold on, let me go check these cats out. And I see you, and I'm like, oh, y'all from the East, because only the East Coast brothers be banging it out like that. And that was it from that day.
From that day, and I'm gonna take you through history lane, because that day I remember we hung out all Friday, most of Saturday, and then you brought out your laptop. We went to get I think it was Heineken and a Corona, and we just sat down and you started schooling me. And again, this is when I was first coming into the game. I didn't know anything. And I was like, all right, man, show me some tools. And you popped out your laptop and you was like, yeah, this is Iris. This, let me show you how to use it. And you was showing me, and then all of a sudden you hear the whoop whoop, those alerts, and it was like, oh, what is that? And I was like amazed. I was like, whoa, people, you're getting alerts. What's going on? Tell me how has the game changed over years at DEF CON? Because from that point, the next year you became a goon, and then you were gooning every year.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me how has DEF CON changed? Because it was when we went, I want to say it was like 400 people, maybe
Maybe
less,
400 to 1,000, maybe. Yeah.
maybe, and now it's like at 14,000. Let me switch
I
off
thought
to
it
the
was
night
even higher than
shades.
that.
Yes, I agree. So explain to me, Dre, how do you think like the game has changed? Because when we came into the game, it was a community. To get a security job, it was more as you was a network administrator.
Yeah, and and it's funny because it's funny that we talked about this a lot of times, right? And so I was doing desktop support, so this whole the whole hacker and hacking kind of game that we were trying to get into, like we were all new to it. And I mean, I was probably a little bit further ahead than you are, and
Mm-hmm.
now I mean, you beat 2000. I mean, I look, I don't even need to tell you. The work that you do inspires me and lets
Oh
me
man,
know that
thank you.
watching how we both evolved and kind of into this space. Um, but yeah, it was like, yeah, you either had to be a network engineer or desktop support, or you had to be whoever was closest to that firewall, or that router or whatever. You were trying to get in that role. So it was like the first checkpoint firewall. I mean, I worked for Sony, a division of Sony, and I was a desktop support guy. They needed somebody, and then that's how I kind of got in. And then kind of watching how things changed. I mean, it's a different ball game. I mean, a lot of this hacks and things we were seeing back in the day, it was bragging rights, right? Now we have like nation states, and
It's a
you know,
different vibe, different ball game.
criminal syndicates. Like this game has definitely changed. So it's like, man, this is I mean, and some of the stuff we were doing for fun, like now we do it as this is what gives us the lifestyles that we can live.
Yeah,
But it has definitely changed. I mean, the attack vectors have changed. I mean, some of them still exist, but we went from it was whether you were hitting a website or a database to now, or trying to get beyond the firewall. Now they're busting up things in the cloud. We have supply chain, IoT. I mean, good grief! I mean, there's so many different attack vectors out there, and it's just a matter of keeping up. And depending on
absolutely.
the environment you're in, yeah, you got to school yourself on all of them. So from where I kind of stand in this whole thing, I'm essentially on the blue team. So
Yes, sir.
my job is to defend the fortress,
Yes, sir.
and it's challenging to keep your ears to the ground in the organization and make sure that everybody in different business units and groups within that organization is keeping security as a top priority in the organization.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, some of the scariest stuff now is solar winds, the Kaseya attack. These supply chain ones are like, these are the ones that are keeping us up at night because
Yes, sir.
a lot of our security products that we use is basically in that supply chain. What
Yep.
happens if they get taken? The game has definitely changed, and we've definitely evolved with it, and you know um, I'm excited, and I stay excited because I do love the work that I do. But there are still challenges that I mean, this past year we all got bopped in the face with all these different attacks.
Yeah. So, quick question. We are live. We're taking questions. And
Oh, we are.
yeah, we're taking live questions. I'll just say Juan Carlos Vasquez. Shout out to you. He goes, "Greetings, buddy. Don't forget to invite the audience to join S1 Activo Talk in some hours on the Black Hat floor. So, we're live during Black Hat. So if you have questions, definitely add them in there. I'll answer them or give them to Andre. And like I said, if you have any questions, we're going to stop. We're going to answer those questions. Let's peel back what you said, because our day to day, even though we're in the same field, it's a little different, right? I do pure research where you secure the crown jewels, right? And I feel
Yep,
lucky
I'm
enough.
deploying, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, no,
This is
no,
your
no. I
show,
was
I'm
gonna say I
sorry.
feel lucky enough that I get to research the latest and greatest. But I wanted to ask you, like, how is it protecting those crown jewels? Because back in the day when I got into the game, I was going ahead and I was securing the crown jewels, and then I moved over to McAfee where I did a lot of research, and then I moved over to Intel proper where I was securing the jewels again, right? And then I went back into research under the umbrella of Intel. And for me, I love researching because I feel like I'm Picasso. I get to there's a blank canvas and I get to paint things on what I see. And I love that. But how is it securing, and like you said, things keep you up at night, like Kaseya, if you, let's say, got attacked by ransomware or something like that, especially when the Kaseya hack was on the July 4th weekend, so you probably would have been up the whole weekend. So how's that mind, that perspective that you have as a blue
Man, that's a lot. Yeah. So I mean, look, I mean, yeah, I kind of did the same thing. I meandered from securing to research to securing. And it's weird. It depends on. I guess it depends on how the wind blows to be. I've been, for at least the last decade, dedicated to just securing. And it does feel good to be kind of in, to secure. It I always tell folks like some of the most important things is knowing the tool set that we have. Well, first of all, understanding the organization that you're in, that you have to secure, and getting a thorough understanding of how data is moving throughout that organization. And then, I mean, a lot of times I have to be the ambassador because a lot of times infosec professionals and infosec guys, we get and when we get looked at as, oh, they're going to be the blockers to what we need to do. I often tell people that security is the enemy of convenience. And my job is not to tell anyone no. My job is to address and understand, like, hey, you need this data to move, or you need this. So I just want to make sure that this data is secure and it's in transit and wherever it's resting. I need to make sure that that data isn't being leaked out into the wrong hands or exposed in any particular way. And so in that as well, as much as I'm trying to secure this data, I also need to make sure that we don't have ghosts in the shell, so to speak. So making sure that we're pulling in the right events, logging, alerting, you know, uh, and just making sure. I mean, we all know the weakest link, as a lot of threat actors know, is the person sitting behind the keyboard. So it's my day to day is
Yes, sir.
definitely it's a mission to keep security awareness at the forefront of every user's mind within an organization. And that's from the top down. It doesn't matter if they're the CEO, the guy who signs my paycheck, all the way down to the janitor. Everybody needs to know that they need security should be top priority throughout the organization.
I mean, for me, the way I look at it sometimes is, what can I discover to help for the greater good, right? Whether it's a coin miner that maybe it doesn't do any damage, but at the end of the day, it will raise your AWS bill like $10,000, $12,000 because he's trying to mine something. That goes a long way, right? Because you didn't keep your environment clean. or if it's a nation state or something like that. To me, that floats, like that really wakes me up in the morning. And one of the things that I see a lot of corporations that miss is playing those war games, right? When you play those war games, you have those hypotheticals. Those, what is my crown jewels? What are they after? Which actor is most likely to come after me? And then have a red team act like those actors. Do you find your corporation where you work at, we didn't discuss it, but do they do those things, and do they have brown bags? Because I found a lot of organizations, maybe they might act them out, but there's no actionable things, steps that they do to really push the envelope. And having that worst case scenario is excuse me, I said I was sick before. Having that worst case scenario is really important. Will help your team as well as your organization become more secure. So how do you introduce that to your environment or to companies you've been a part of back in the day?
Sometimes, sometimes it's been difficult. I mean, it's sometimes there have been some in cases where the notion is, oh, that'll never happen to us. It's only happened to this size organization. Um, as we can see, threat actors don't care what size you are. I mean, you could be an EA or you could be a little hole in the wall accounting firm. It really doesn't
That's the
matter.
truth.
If it creates an impact to either your customer base or your supply chain or something that a product or service that you offer, uh, you know, uh, you have to, probably, you have to just be like, hey, look, we have to take this serious. Um, I'm fortunate enough that the organization that I'm in now, one of the reasons why I'm there is they're like, hey, look, we want someone that was, that keeps security in thought of everything. That's going to make sure that's going to be that ambassador, going to be that person that works with these different teams. Who just keeps, security, looking at whatever the workflow is in the organization, making sure that best practices for security are in place for those. We're not doing any like
So
so.
I was gonna
Go ahead.
say, you definitely have a fan, C Del Rio, lit and says, "Hello, Andre. Great interview. You getting love." And then we have it.
Yeah,
We
that's
have. This
that
is why I
that's what.
love.
Yeah, I'm getting love.
Yes, this is why I love to do live interviews, because we have a question. Nanda Kumar from YouTube. He says, "Hi, I am struggling to find a job in cybersecurity. I have only CTF and bug bounty experience. What I need to get a cybersecurity job? Or I just get a job in any other domain, like a developer, DevOps, and later shift into cybersecurity domain." So I have in my answer. I want you to answer. Would you like me to answer, or you go first?
No, you go first.
All right. So here's the thing, Nanda Kumar. You need to elevate your profile, and I don't know what your situation looks like. If you need a job, go find the job. Whether it's at Home Depot or it's a developer for a software company, that's one thing. If you're looking to break into the industry, put in the work, right? You can get certifications that will maybe get you an interview, but I would say once you get the interview, it's what you know. If you are doing CTFs and bug bounty, cool. Put that on your resume, show your achievements, and show it out. Get offensive security certifications, OSCP, which it shows you have practitioner skill because of the exam. So they know that you have the skill to pass that. So that is my recommendation. I will turn it over to you, Andre.
So everything that you said is valid there, and they're all good recommendations. One thing that I like to say to the individual is um, being in this field for as long as I've been in this field, um, the folks and people that your network is your most powerful asset. So if you're doing bug bounties and CTS, you that pretty much means you have a network of folks that you've interacted with that have a network of folks that has a network of folks. So it's really just and to your point, Marco, it really is a matter of leveling up your profile and leveraging your network. There are different, I don't know what area you're in, but different types of meetups. Everything Marco said about certifications, but this field is so vast, and I mean, there are so many roles available. I find it hard that, and sometimes when I hear people say that they're having a hard time finding a job in cybersecurity, I have to scratch my head because I'm like, I get hit up all the time. Um, but I mean, I would definitely say leverage your network. And if you don't have one, um, reach out to me, and I'll help you expand it. I think, whether it's on LinkedIn or Twitter, start following people. Start following people that you admire in this field. I mean, listen,
That's awesome.
Marco said when we first started, there was no Twitter and there was no social media like
The
this. And
truth.
some of the folks that I wanted to just that I you know admired in this field is because of my network with Marco that helped me have opportunities to meet them and speak with them and things like that. I mean,
It opens
it
up
is
doors.
definitely leveraging your network.
My
Yep.
my first malware reverse engineering job. I was in security at the time, thank God, but I wanted to do reverse engineering full time. And it was at DEF CON. I asked a friend, hey, you guys are hiring? I know your team does RE. And he said, yeah. I gave him my resume. And actually, it's the story why I love you so much, Dre. I was at his house when I got the phone interview. I stood at his house for 3 weeks
You
in
did.
California, and you were there when I interviewed for Booz Allen Hamilton to get reverse engineering job. It goes way back. This was what, 2010. This was in 2010. So I was in it. We do have a question from Christopher Frazier on LinkedIn. How do you educate the employees to keep security in the forefront besides death by PowerPoint? Here's what I would say. Here's what I would say. They do have some services that you can go ahead and fish your own employees. And if they get fished, they basically have to take a training. I like that. Or there is a framework that you can do it internally and you could do the same thing without paying the money. And that's an investment because a lot of APTs still do the whole phishing stuff. If you go on to the blog labs.sentinel1.com, you'll see, I believe I did a report on Sophacy doing phishing emails, right? So it's always, you're always going to see that. Um, what is your recommendation?
Um, yeah, like you said, we do internal phishing campaigns in our organization. I don't know if anyone knows. I believe it's during Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I've had the opportunity where Cybersecurity Awareness Month, our InfoSec team, we we did demos. So we did demos for through a webinar for our organizations, showing them how easy a remote code execution exploit is, to pull off. And I often end it with, if I can do this, the security guy who's trying to tell you how to stay safe. Imagine who else can do this. I mean, we do, and then I was going to say this earlier. We haven't been doing any brown bag sessions, but we are going to start introducing like brown bag sessions. And I think it's really important for organizations to let the employees know, like, hey, this is the security team. This is what they do. So that's definitely one of the things that we work on in our organization is making sure that the folks that are in various teams in our organization that they know who we are. We will often, if there's a new product that we introduce, we will normally get a group of folks together and let them know how this product is going to impact you know their day to day work environment. So
Yeah. So, quick feedback on your audio. It's amazing.
is
No,
it?
it's amazing. It's A1 quality, and we were missing the headphones, so I'm happy. I'm really, really, really happy that the audio is good. I was a little scared going on here. Let me ask you. This year, you said it's it's empty, right? Everyone's scared of the Delta variant. It's going to grow rapid. Fauci has stated it's going to get worse. How has COVID been for you this last year and a half? Has it been hard? From the
Yeah.
technical, mental, social, and you're a social guy, by the way. One of the best singers that I know is Andre Hall. I'm just putting that out there. You want a wedding singer, you call Andre Hall. But how has COVID impacted you?
Yeah, well, yeah. It's COVID is yeah. Last year was tough. It was really tough. As you know, I mean, I had a personal ordeal with COVID. My sister had contracted COVID, and so that was really scary. Um, Thank God
She made
that
it through.
she pulled through. She made it through. But it did. It took a toll because, I mean, me personally, you, I'm dealing with that, not knowing that this other stuff was going to. Well, wasn't even dealing with that. She had some other things that had occurred that we didn't know that were COVID related, and so going to New Jersey, caring for her, coming back, then we're on lockdown, and then things just kind of started snowballing with her, um, and then dealing with being an employee of an organization, trying to get a bunch of other employees working remotely. Um, then personally trying to, dealing with this unknown disease, and then worrying about how you're going to keep yourself safe and your family safe. Dealing with remote learning for my kids, um, dealing with trying to teach my mother, who's a kindergarten teacher, how to use Zoom. Yeah, and then
It was
dealing with all
tough.
of the other. Yeah, and then dealing. Yeah, I'll be short about it. But then dealing with all these other these threat actors, kind of pushing out all these COVID related type of attacks.
We got another question in.
Go.
Chris, Christopher Frazier from LinkedIn. He goes, if you do get denied a denied letter from a job, how do you recommend, or what do you recommend on how to follow up with it to see how you can improve? So here's my suggestion. A lot of companies have a policy not to reply because it might get them into deep waters if they say something and you like, well, on my resume and you didn't ask me that. But what I would do is send them an email thanking them. If they could recommend anything to get better, what would that be? I know a lot of companies, like a Google, like a Facebook, they if you get denied, they'll say, "Hey, in 6 months, learn these things and come back and reapply." And I
Yep.
know that through a friend. He did that, and he was denied at Google. They gave him those recommendations. He studied his tail off, and he got the job 6 months later. And he's still at Google. It's now 4 years later. And that's what I'm saying. Like, what I would recommend everyone out there is that if you have a goal, if you have a company in mind, if you have a position, write it out, manifest your destiny, right? That same kid that I was talking about at Google, 6 years before, he sat at my kitchen table and I said, "What do you want? Where do you want to go?" And he wrote everything down. And one of the things was Google. When he got the job, he texted me that paper. He still had it. And he said, "Man, and manifested this destiny. And that's what I would recommend to you, Mr. Frazier. Manifest it. If you want a job, go pick out your dream job. Go pick out your dream company. And, you know, maybe you get the dream job not at the company you want, or maybe you get the company that you want, not the dream job, but you're in that company and you could try to work into getting into that position. And that's what I would say. Drake?
Well, and let me add this because there's a couple of things. Like when you were trying to like when you came out to visit me and you're like, oh, for sure I'm moving to California. You wrote me, you sent me a card thanking me for staying at my place for like 3 weeks. And you wrote in that card like, I'm going to live in California one day.
Yes.
And it was 10 years later.
Yep.
But you ended up, you called me and was like, hey man, I'm like, what's up? I'm like,
it was 6 years later. 6 years later.
Was it 6 years later? Man, I'm old.
6 years.
6 years later.
But you text me. Actually, you text me that. Like, I still have the card you gave me.
Well, it was funny though, because right before you called me, like I keep, especially from you, man. You're my brother. Like I keep cards. I had it on my desk, and I always would often look at it and say, man, yeah, he sent me this card, and I never doubted that it was going to happen. So when you called me and it happened, I was like, oh man, this is crazy. So that's one example. You manifested. You said you were going to live in California, and you were going to be in this game, in the security game in California. That's exactly what you've done. There were a couple jobs that I know for a fact. When I wanted to work for Sony, someone had asked me, they were, well, what do you want to do? I said, man, I want to get a job. I want to work for Sony. 2 years later, I ended up working for Sony just by, and it was just doing what I was doing, leveling up in my skill set, and I got that job. When I ended up working for Symantec, which is on my resume, I remember I was in the research side, and I was like, man, I want to go work for Symantec. Not knowing I was going to work on the defense side for Symantec. I thought I was going to work on the research side. And this is what I'm talking about when it comes to the power of your network. I worked for a company that had done some business with Symantec, and I just applied for a job on a whim. Well, during the interview, they had happened to be talking to the gentleman from Symantec, said, hey, we got this guy who's interviewing. He said he worked here. And he's like, oh, yeah, I worked with him a couple years ago. He's a great guy. And they hired him. And then I got an email from the guy saying, hey, yeah, I just found out that you applied. Welcome aboard. And I was like, yeah, man. He's like, yeah. He said, I told him that we had done some work, and I told him how impressed I was. It is really the power of your network. The other thing is that if you get rejected, don't give up. Listen, I've gotten lots of rejection letters from jobs that I thought I was, perfect for. I don't regret any of those rejection letters at all. You keep it pushing, you move on. There are tons of companies out there and organizations that are looking for you. Just don't give up. And look at some of these companies, write it down, and just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep leveling up, making contacts, learning, growing. Just keep it up. These things will happen.
I completely agree, because for me, I'm always elevating myself and trying to get better and expanding my network. The other thing is, like you said, don't be discouraged, especially like at your current job. I always say, if someone's telling you something for your own benefit, don't be sensitive. Understand what you're not seeing, acknowledge it, and try to, get better at it. I love when colleagues or my bosses point something out and it's like, you're slacking on this or you're doing something. I don't get sensitive and upset. I'm like, okay, that's acknowledged. How do I push forward? I'm not good at this specific thing, but how do I get better at it? And then try to align yourself on getting better, because at the end of the day, you're hired by a company. You're providing your services to that company. They're paying you for that service. And you really, at the end of the day, regardless you work for a company, you really work for yourself. They hired you, to provide a service. And if you're doing a great job, great, right? But how do you improve? Even if you're checking all the boxes, how do you improve? How do you get that feedback to take yourself to that next level? I got another question. This is by C. Del Rio. What advice would you give a young people interested in cybersecurity? What other routes are there outside of college degrees? Oh, this is my specialty, but I'll let you go, Dre. I've been answering first all this
No, man,
time.
listen. And I know who that. I know who that is. I know who that is. So I'm listen. I want you to answer that because you know.
Okay, let me get loosened up.
Go ahead.
So
Go ahead.
you're talking to a kid from the Bronx, a college dropout. All I said, I started working at Home Depot. Dre met me when I was working at Home Depot. That's when we first met. I had to take a loan to get a flight to Vegas just to like I got a loan from my dad. I was like, yo, loan me $300. I want to go out there. And I met Dre and the rest is history. But what it is are you willing to put that sweat equity in to go and accomplish these goals? My whole goal was I gotta get out the hood. There was no other thing for me. I need to get out the Bronx. I need to get out the hood. That was my motivation. I was tired of the Bronx. Every time I go to a grocery store, I got to look over my shoulder to go to a grocery store? Nah. That was my motivation. And that motivation is your back is against the wall. I put in hours, I put in time. You don't know how many Friday and Saturdays I miss putting in that work. I don't I tell people want to get into the game. I say, are you willing to put in that work? That's all I say. You don't need a college degree. You need skill. There's such a shortage of talent in cybersecurity, and you don't need to be a reverse engineer or a IDS guy. There's so many. There's risk. There's marketing in cybersecurity. You get to pick. It's all open. This game is open and they need people. So when you think that you can't do it, don't lie to yourself. Don't listen to that voice, because if you're willing to go hard and you will keep on giving me those claps and hearts, I see you. I see you. Whoever's giving me those claps and hearts, keep on doing it. I see you, but keep on grinding. Keep on doing it. This is coming from my heart, from a person that when I came in, it wasn't an industry, it was a community.
Yep.
Right? And what I knew was, hey, everyone's a pen tester. Who's going to secure the networks? Okay, I'm focusing on reverse engineering. That's what it is. So at the end of the day, you have all the power. You have Amazon, you have books, you got to figure out your lane. You got people to help you. If you want, you could reach out to me, you could reach out to Andre. There's so many resources out there. Just pick what you want to do, whatever it is. Like I tell people, there's so much jobs that are not being filled because there's no one to fill them, because people think that they can't do it. So that's what I would say. Don't be discouraged. So what? You don't have. I told someone you don't even need. I actually know someone that was a dropout at 7th grade, and he was a senior architect for Tesla on the cybersecurity side. And that should tell you everything, right? I think he works for another company now, but he worked for Apple. He worked for Tesla. And his first job, they told him he was too young. He didn't want to go to school. So that's what I would say, Dre. That's a big rant from me, but go ahead.
Man, I mean, yeah, I mean, you poured out a lot. I mean, everything you said, like, I mean, there are books, there are all kind of online resources. Like, I tell people all the time, like, you can go on Google and do a search on like cybersecurity roles. And then and cybersecurity is so vast. It's so like there's so many things you can do. You can concentrate on IoT or car or infrastructure or web app, bug bounties. Like there's so much that you can do. If you're into the kind of hacking and seeing if you can break into break into a system, then you might want to use a site called like what is it? Try Hack Me, and subscribe for their services. They have all these virtual. They have this environment where they have all these virtual boxes that you can pop and learn and level up. There is, gosh, I mean, there's Udemy. I mean, there is
Everything, and everyone is
Coursera.
constantly learning.
Yeah, and everybody's constantly learning. And I subscribe to some of those. There's cyber.it. I mean, like even in things that I'm not like necessarily skilled in, but I just kind of want to just keep my ear, and like just be abreast of how that that space is going. I'm on there. Sometimes I don't even know what the hell I'm like. This is foreign to me. But after a while, and after listening, and some of the talks here at Black Hat, sometimes I'm going in there like about fuzzing. I know fuzzing, I understand the basis of it, but I couldn't do it. But it's still a topic that interests me. But definitely, there's so many resources. I would tell people some of the social media platforms that you use, instead of looking at what a celebrity's doing, put a focus on what's happening in the field or the area of interest that you're in. If you put in cyber or hacking or any of that, it's going to open up your world to resources and folks who are very, very, that want to help, who are not, I've reached out to Jason Haddix, somebody you're going to have on the show. I've tweeted and gotten responses back from people that I never thought in a million years would even pay attention to something that I said. But yeah, it really is just never giving up and just going out there and looking for the resources. Utilize me as a resource. Utilize Marco as a resource. That's how you open up your network.
That is the truth. I feel like the game has given so much to me that I want to give back, right? And I appreciate it. The places that I've been, I would have never thought I would have been there, right? And someone tweeted, it was Ryan Clark, Lost Boy, tweeted, if there wasn't no DEF CON, where do you think you would be? And I replied, still in the Bronx. That's how powerful cybersecurity is. Could take a kid like me out of the hood and give me and show me things that I would have never guessed I would ever see. And it was through sure will and positivity.
Yep, kid from South Jersey.
A random user, Ryan Scaler, said, "Is that your hotel room, Marco?" No, let me explain. You might have come in late, so let me just quickly explain for the people that have come in late. This is not a hotel room. This is out of my house. I was supposed to go to Black Hat. On Saturday, I got sick. Sunday, it was worse. I took a COVID test. I was negative for COVID. I do have my Covax vaccine. I do have my vaccine. And it was a flu. And I didn't want to take the risk because of the climate that we're living in. You can't cough really and go to a place and cough and like for every maybe 30 words I got to cough. So that's the reason this isn't my hotel room. But shout outs.
Because for sure you and I would have been hanging out though.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not contagious. I feel much better. I do have, like I said, a cough. Not every 30 words, and I have a little mucus, but I'm feeling good, and I'm happy it's not COVID and stuff like that. But I wanted to have this, live, and I was like, I'm gonna commit to doing it, and yeah, I think the next one that I'm going to do, besides tomorrow's going to be epic, but I think I want to do it live at RSA. I believe at RSA it's going to be big. It's going to be like the coming out party where everyone's going to come back. Hopefully, after this Delta, there's not going to be a Gamma. There's not going to be a Zeta. Hopefully, there's not. as we know, there's going to be variants, but hopefully it starts dying down, and we could get back to normal life. I haven't been in a room with more than 30 people. So that I'm looking forward to what's to come. I have a lot of FOMO. I'm and that is the theme of tomorrow. Is DEF CON FOMO. That's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna interview everyone that would usually be talking, that would be at Black Hat, and I have to give a big shout out to a few people. Adam Sinet, he is one of the producers of this show. He's put in so much work, and I hope he's watching, because here's your flowers. Thank you so much for everything you do. Man, he's a rock star. Migo, my boss, he is a silent boss. He's always in the background making all the moves. Shout out to Jags, Juan Saeed. Man, he covered for me. I was supposed to talk today at 12:40 to 1:30. He covered for me because I was sick, and he didn't even have a presentation. He just did his presentation 2 days ago. I sent them slides. He was like, all right, I got it from here. I would do the same thing for him. Mad props to him. Ms. Del Rio says, thank you both for your testimonies. You're an inspiration to the youth. And that's one of the things, like I said.
That's my friend Carmen. That's my friend Carmen. Cameron. I'm sorry, not Carmen. Cameron.
Cameron
Del
Rio.
Man, listen.
She's been putting out some amazing questions, and this is one of the things that I want to do is give back to the youth, especially people that are underprivileged. I try to go back to the Bronx and go to where I went to the elementary school that I went to. And, it's a difficult situation when you grow up like that. I went back, the last time I went back was in 2018, spoke to the principal, and she was like, look, 90% of these kids are special ed. This is a school, that has so many kids. So, it's difficult. It's one of those things you try to help out and do your best and play your part. And that's what I try to do. I try to give back as much as I can. And this hack chat, this is why I do it, because the way I look at it is when I do this hack chat, this is going to be relevant 5 years from now. It's going to be relevant 5 years from now. And that's why I do these hack chats every week and constantly try to elevate and give one nugget to people that are out there. And I can't wait until the next season that's going to be coming out shortly in 2 weeks, where you guys get the exclusive. It's Hispanics in cybersecurity. That is season 4 of Hack Chat. Man, the intro of that is amazing, and we're gonna keep on pushing forward and doing everything. What is on the horizon for you, Mr. Hall? What do you see? Where you see yourself learning and doing? I'm pushing some buttons, huh? You took a deep breath there.
Listen. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on your show, man. I'm sitting here just tripping out, thinking about how many years, all those years ago, we first met, and
it's crazy.
Never would have imagined that encounter would have led to this.
I'm feeling myself. Look at my picture in the background there. I was like, man, I'm happy. That's me right there.
Can I take this home with me, bro? I have to get another one, man. I want to take this home.
So yeah, that's the one we're gonna use at the Hack Chat live shows, man. But for real, you mean so much to me, and what I especially love about our relationship. You see me when I was working at Home Depot. That's real. That's real. You see me working when I first was working, and I was like, man, I'm trying to get an A+ certification. Got that. Then I got Security Plus, Network Plus, and then I started into get hacking. And I wasn't stopping because I could see me getting out of where I was, the situation I was in through this industry. But where do you see yourself?
Yeah. So yeah, let me expound on what you were just talking about. The other thing too is like I want to say this is for anyone who wants to get into this field, it is really concentrating. Like I said, there's so many things you could do in cyber, but finding that one niche in it and just being hungry and not giving up, even when the information doesn't make sense to you, don't give up. The mind is a beautiful thing. There were times that there was information I was reading. I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm reading. This is driving me crazy. I'd go to sleep kind of disappointed, and in the middle of my sleep, it would all make sense. And I've jumped out of bed lots of times saying, "Oh my gosh, I got it. I totally understand it." And after that, no one could ever take that away from me. That is the beauty about this thing, this gray matter that sits up between our ears.
I love that.
Um, the other thing though too is I'm much like you. I mean, it was that hunger that I saw in you, and every time you called me, I would just drop something else on you. You'd ask me a question, I drop something else, and at the same time, I was learning too.
Yeah,
There were times I was learning too. Um,
absolutely.
where I see my yeah, where I see myself now, um, I'm a dinosaur in this field.
You're a game
I
changer.
I
You're
I'm all
you know what
good.
I call bull jive. You know why? Because we're always constantly learning. Like I feel like something a new technology comes out, you got to learn it. Like you learn all the time, and you put me onto game, and we always are constantly interchanging, and our relationship is bigger than cybersecurity, but we're
Yeah.
always that's our core. We always come back. It's either we talk about two things. Let's be honest. We talk about cybersecurity, we talk about hip hop, and then we talk about life.
Yep.
So
Yep.
so our bond is bigger, and this is what I would tell everyone looking like watching when you come to these conferences. You might meet someone and they become family. Like I told them, my dream is to be one day old, and we're in a rocking chair talking about that first day we met. And
Yep.
we got another question. So Nanda Kumar from YouTube, he says, I'm planning on getting my first certification, which is a good to start because there are a lot of certifications to do. I'll give it to you on that one.
It depends. Like it really depends on what they're trying to do. If it's anything dealing with pen testing, the OSCP is at the top.
I would
If you
say
don't
do
want to get
that.
that one,
OSCP,
yeah,
get the OSCP. I was going to go with that. Or, like I said, if let's say money is an issue, OSCP is pricey, right? It is pricey. There might be other certifications. SANS is very expensive, but
yep,
try to get your OSCP. The security plus, you don't need to take a course. You buy a book, you read the book, and I think the security plus, I think it's 300 for the
yeah.
certification. It might be more, I don't know, but like I said,
And people knock the CEH. The CEH is not a bad cert either. Like, I mean, the OSCP is like, I mean, if you're gonna do the thing, that's where you go. I mean, CEH. A lot of folks. I mean, that cert still holds high regard in the industry too. And
yes,
and I'll say this too. Some people think that it's all about the certifications. You're looking at somebody who doesn't have any certifications. I'm like, that's where I am in my life now, as far as things I want to do is like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get this cert just because it'll make somebody have a warm and fuzzy feeling inside. But not just an organization, but it'll make me have a warm and fuzzy feeling inside, because it's like, okay, I've been, learning all this stuff for all these years. Now I've actually applied it, and now I have this organization recognizing me for it. That does feel good. So that's one of the things that I want to be doing here, and have been working towards doing over this past year or so. And the other thing is pouring myself into others, as far as this is not hard for me. If someone that comes up to me and asks me what I do, man, I'm a pitch man for cybersecurity. I tell them what I do because I enjoy what I do. So, and if someone takes interest in what I do, I try to get make myself available to them. And so I'm looking at ways to make myself available. If someone wants me to come out and talk to some kids or host a webinar, like I'm all about that. I'm all about telling them my walk through this path. I didn't finish college, you know, and I still yet and still I prevailed and accomplished what I wanted to do and get in this field and have been well established in this field. So just making
Well
myself available to
established.
people, man.
Yes. And I want to just give you kudos because a few years ago you were the largest kind of independent malware collector on the market besides like your AV companies. You had honeypots all over the world for the company you were working for.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know anyone at the time doing what you were doing. You architected it, you built it, you were collecting it, and then you were testing it. Man, that's serious. That was that was before VT was VT. You was collecting it and doing all independent analysis. Can you go into that? There's so much to cover because your background is so diverse, right? You did the West Coast labs, you did the Symantec,
Mm-hmm.
you're at your current company, and for me, I always see those building blocks, right? Those building blocks, you keep on elevating yourself. We're gonna cover elevating yourself and going to new jobs because I wanna pull back that cover because sometimes, you know, at Intel, we're gonna go into that, but I'll go into Intel. First, give me how did you start architecting and collecting malware to like test?
Um, Man, well, it was a huge undertaking. It was just, West Coast Labs at the time, we were doing testing validation for security companies. So instead of like, and then, there were cases where, a company would say, hey, I want you to, find some samples and some binaries and things, and I want you to test our products against it. And we're like, where the hell are we going to get this stuff from? So then I came up with, I started researching like, hey, why don't we just build a bunch of honeypots, just put them, across the country, start using some of our offices. And our parent company was a publishing company from the UK. And so we had offices pretty much all over the world. So we worked with them in putting in honeypots. And we put in honeypots in our office in Southern California. I had honeypots at my house. Some of my other coworkers had honeypots at their houses, and then we were just collecting this stuff and saying, okay, now we're getting the stuff that's coming in. How are we going to validate it? It I won't say we perfected it, but it took a lot of work. But we were at least successful in producing some pretty good results when it came to testing and validation, and helping companies better test some of their products. Whether it was at, a lot of times back then, it was at the time of just, they were doing a lot of signature scanning, ABs, the traditional AB type of stuff. Now it's completely different in a lot of regards.
Yeah.
Sentinel One being one of those organizations that kind of do it differently. But it was. And it was pulling this stuff in, building a database of the things that we had coming in, cataloging it, and then this, a lot of sleepless nights, man, but it was a lot of fun. And so, I'll say this: the West Coast Labs was the job that I had said. Well, before West Coast Labs, I had worked for the startup, and I was a data warehouse engineer. And I was working for this company, and I was like, this is not where I want to be. I told the organization where I wanted to go, and they had promised me. And I told a bunch of other organizations I wanted to focus on security,
Yep.
but sometimes some of your talents can be a hindrance because they were like, well, you're really good at this. We don't want to lose you. So I quit. And then I was like, I'm not, until I find a job that's in security, I'm not going to take another job. So I
I
was
love
very,
that. I remember that period. I do
yeah,
remember that period when you was like, I'm done with that job. I'm not working because my passion is security.
yeah,
Let's talk about how you strategically move, right? One of the things is, you know, I was at Intel for 7 years, right? That's a long time, But it didn't feel like that because every 2 to 3 years I would move internally. So I worked at APG, and then from APG I moved over to Intel proper doing their defensive stuff, so security to defense. And then from Intel proper, when I was doing the IT side, I moved over to research on it was doing UEFI. Now I was completely lost, and I I was leaving Intel like what you did. I was like, I'm done with Intel. I'm moving, but this opportunity came up, and I said, man, this is a once in a lifetime thing. I need to go ahead and do this. I'm going to do this for however long, but it was something that I said I needed to do because I would never ever have that opportunity. I'm so happy I did it. Thank you, David Risk. He's the one who told me to go ahead and do it. But what made you? How do you move? Right when I decided, okay, it's time for me to move, it was because I was backed into a corner where they split our team, and I became a developer doing UEFI development. I'm like, I'm not a developer for UEFI. It's time for me to go. That's how, luckily, I moved over to ChipSec, which was developing tools and modules for ChipSec. And here's the luck of the draw, and this is what we talk about when it comes to network. I made a pull request to ChipSec. One of the people that were on Sentinel-1, Jim Walter, he was former McAfee. We were good friends. He seen the pull request, reached out to me and said, hey, are you still at Intel? I was like, yeah. He was like, you want to come over to Sentinel-1? I was like, hell yes. That is the life raft that I needed. And I'm so happy. It was one of the best decisions I've ever made to join Sentinel-1. What an amazing crew. But like I said, I feel blessed because my manager, which you met, is an amazing person, and he knows how to get the best out of you. So the question, long-winded question, is
Okay.
let me ask you, when do you know when it's time for you to exit stage right from a company?
Oh man, so yeah, that's an easy. I am there to do it. My job is to make the organization aware of threats and risks involved with not addressing these threats. When my voice is deafened in any conversation and my input is not taken into consideration at all, that is a clear indicator that it's time for me to move on. I feel like a lot of my role today in my field is being a voice. And yeah, I still press buttons, pull knobs, and watch little charts and graphs and do reports and things like that. Um, but it's vitally important that and this is all the way up at the top, whether they want to hear it or not. That when a conversation is had, that they make sure they say, well, this is what Andre said. Here are all the data points that he's presented. This is something we need to address. If it is overlooked and just swept under the rug as if the things that I'm recommending are not taken into consideration, then it's time for me to move on. And I'm not saying it's a one-time deal, but it's a gradual buildup of, hey, we need to get this done. We need to implement this. And they're like, oh no, this is just it's going to impact this. No. It's not. It's going to impact this. It's like, okay, we got to get it done. Can you build out a timeline of how we're going to do, implement this or schedule this or deploy this? Yeah, no problem. That's what I'm there for. But if what I've recommended is just kind of tossed to the wayside, it's time to go, because I don't want to be that person in the newspaper. I don't want anybody to say, hey, doesn't Andre work for that company?
True that.
So,
And I would say that at the end of the day, at least for me, you've been that person that I know that when it's time, it's time. A lot of people wait too long. I know people that have been at a company for 20 years, right? And they don't want to pull it because they don't want to pull the trigger because they have so much time invested. They have their 401k, and it's hard. But at the end of the day here's some questions that you can ask yourself. Am I growing? Do I see a future where I'm put in a position to elevate myself? And the other thing is, do you love what you do? I had a health scare early in 2020. It was nothing having to do with COVID or anything like that. It was just like, hey, this is out of whack. It could be like something wrong. And I told myself, I came home and I said, would I do the same thing that I would do today? And it was yes, 100%. And I knew I was in the right position, the right time. And I was like, I know this is for me. I am in the right place. I got the right manager, the right team I'm with. They're taking me. And it would be the 1908 Einstein papers for me. Am I putting out the right stuff to put my legacy out there if I were to die in 3 months? And it was so yes, I knew I was in the right place. Is it hard? Of course it's hard. You're only as good as the latest thing you put out. And that's the thing. You're chasing this you're the way I look at it, I'm chasing to be better than yesterday's Marco. And tomorrow, am I better than yesterday's Marco? And it's the same thing all the time. And I feel like if I look at you from when I first met you to now, it's like that is the guy that I first met. He's elevated his game and constantly elevated. It's like your cars. You elevate your car all the time. So, and I see that, you know, yes, Jamar, he goes, absolutely incredible. And this is why we keep on going. This is the last hack chat of the day. And I don't want to stop because, like I said, there's so much information. There's more than 20 years here of info that we want to give you. So, you know, it's been amazing. You know, any other questions, just write it down. You know, I'm looking at all the chats and everything going on. What do you have to say on what I just said, Dre?
Man, yeah. So I often think about that, and so yeah. I said that it does have to do with you know my work being into the organization taking my recommendation seriously. But it is like if I'm not leveling up, if the work isn't challenging, if if my heart isn't in it, I'm not there for a paycheck. I'm there because I'm supposed to love it. And I don't want it to be easy. I want to be uncomfortable. Um, I don't think I've taken on any job just because it was a job that was like, oh, cushion. I know everything in this organization or about this job or the skill set. I want them to say, hey, look, you know what? You have all of you have some of the hard skills and a lot of the soft skills, and there's these areas that we want you to just go in and learn. Cool, because I want to start on day one saying, crap, I don't know this, and then buckling down and just really learning because man, it's like the 4th of July in my mind every time I learn something new, and that is something that pushes me and drives me, man. Yeah, yeah, this field has changed my life. This field has given me a lifestyle that I never would have imagined that I've had. This field has done so many amazing things for me, and I always feel like I want to give back to this field, and I want to give back, and I want to find that those kids, a lot of them who look just like you and me, who
Mm-hmm.
don't even know about it, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe have like an inkling about what it's about, and just be able to just pour into them and be a mentor and help
Yes.
them. Um,
Yes. I agree.
That's basically it,
I
man.
agree.
That's basically it.
It's funny because every time I go to Black Hat DEF CON, I meet someone coming into the game and they ask me questions, and I'm like, look, my DMs are always open. I'm always willing to have a phone call if I have free time to lend my expertise. And if you have questions, what can I do? When it comes down to it, what I always say is, are you willing to sacrifice, that free time you have? They're like, oh, example is like, oh, I have, 4 kids. I'm like, they up at 4 in the morning? Like, I don't know. If they up at 4 in the morning or no one's up, everyone's sleeping, wake up at 4. Get your grinding, get your 2 hours in. Man, I could bring someone on a pot.
I got a fam, and
Yeah.
and it's like
And
I'm up early.
And I always say this. I have someone that has witnessed me when I worked at Home Depot, just like yourself. He's not in the cybersecurity game, but he worked with me at Home Depot, and he's seen me on my lunchtime. I would be in the lunchroom, in the books, like, bro, I'm putting in the grind. This is my quiet time. I'm gonna put an hour in now. I'm gonna put 3 hours in later tonight. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I'm a little heavy set. If y'all didn't know out there, I'm a little heavy set, so I'm always hungry for knowledge. So, I'm always
I put on some
wanting
weight,
to.
so I always keep my weight up on the hungry too.
I always try to push myself, and I think for me, this is why I wanted you to be the last person on today's hack chat, because there is no time. I could spend 2-3 hours here talking to try to help someone. We got some amazing comments from a lot of people, and I always say I don't need masses. I don't need 100 people to be like amazing. I need 1 or 2 people that we can reach to say you can do it. Believe in yourself, because if I did it and it was difficult, but I believed in myself. I told myself, this is going to get me out of the hood. This is going to get me out of the ghetto, and I'm going to need to upgrade my skill and how I talk. It's always going to be that thing. So, I could always go to you, and I could tell, I know that you see me from the beginning and how I changed. If I had a recording from the first time I spoke to you to now, you'd be like, who is that guy? Because I, as they say, I was speaking Ebonics back then. And now, you got to formulate sentences that people constantly, when you have conversations, they constantly like, huh? So for me, when I was getting into the game and going and progressing, I started realizing when I talked and they were like, huh? What was that? It was, they didn't understand me because I was like translating what I would normally say back in the Bronx to like corporate world. And it is difficult, especially when you're growing. And I'm not ashamed to say, hey, I grew up in a certain situation where, English wasn't English. It was like rap music. If you listen to rap music, that's English. Right? So it was difficult, but I understood, hey, to elevate myself, I need to allow myself to learn and express myself where others need to understand me. And this is me being vulnerable to people out there that say I can't, or it's hard, or it's difficult, or there's a language barrier. It doesn't matter if you spoke another language and you have broken English. Try to speak broken English from the hood. It's like, yeah, I'm saying, you feel me.
Know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean. So you need to
Know what I
understand,
mean?
it's the same thing. You need to understand how to communicate on the level where it doesn't matter what language you speak. You know how to express yourself in a certain language. Did you have any barriers yourself, Andre?
No, no. Man, I was the geek. So like, most people always thought in my hood that I could be street when I needed to be, and then, move back and be more articulate.
It was very hard
And
for me.
yeah, yeah. And I remember you talking to me about that too. But no, for me, it was easy because I always felt like I was like the environment that I grew up in. I was like, I just felt like an oddball. 'Cause I spent a lot of time in the library. Um, I didn't really hang out on the street corners of the basketball court. I ran track. I was in band, choir, chorus. You know, but for me, no, I didn't have any of those barriers. Probably what my barrier was at the time. It was just the confidence. Um, and some of that was just attributed to looking at the environment that I was in. But I always had this burning desire, like if I just get an opportunity, and every opportunity, and looking at every opportunity, and saying make the best of every opportunity that you're ever
Mm.
given in your life. And so, whether when that opportunity came, whether it was one where I could just sit back and be like, oh, this is cool, it's smooth sailing. I'm in my lane, I know what I'm doing. Or one that was like, hey, you got to go through some things to get there. This is all painful, but my grandmother used to tell me nothing good comes easy. And so, and looking at that, I just said, look, this road to where the things that I want to achieve in this road that I'm on, it's not going to be easy, and it hasn't been easy all the time. But no, that was my barrier. It was the confidence,
Mm.
and man, and probably still I suffer from imposter syndrome, which is a word that I learned about 3 years ago, when a good friend of mine and yours, was like, "Hey, Ron," he was like, "Oh man, you just have imposter syndrome." I'm like, "What is that?" He's like, "Man,
Mm.
listen, I've seen you work. You're good at what you do. You just don't believe you're good at what you do. Have you seen what other people, when they see you, when they hear you talking, have you seen what they say?
Oh,
You
we're
you
gonna.
you know what you're doing, man."
That's the next topic we need to get into, imposter syndrome. But before that, I want to give a shout out to Hans Bosch. He put out
Hans,
Hans. He put out, hey, miss you guys. Hans Bosch. This is the day we all hang together at Black Hat. So Hans, shout out to you.
miss you, brother.
We all next year, hopefully RSA or Black Hat 2022, will all be together hanging out. Now, imposter syndrome. Look, it's a real thing. And the way I explain this to everyone, it's simple. Look, when it comes to imposter syndrome, you're looking at everyone that's in front of you. You don't turn around, look who's in back of you. You got a lot of people that don't know like the things that you know. And I had a conversation. I'm not going to say the name of the person I spoke to about this, but I'm like, bro, you are so nice. You're looking at the people in front of you. Like, I could roll off for 8 names right now. And I'm like, you're comparing yourself to them, but you're not turning around and looking at the thousands of people that you can help. You're just looking at catching up to those people that are experts in those one, two or three things. And that's what you gotta realize. And that's where I feel like people get it twisted. I know I'm good at this thing. I'm in the top 1%, let's say, of reverse engineering. And I'm fine saying that, right? There's, of course, in that top 1%, maybe I'm at the 99% percentile. But people always ask me, how do I get better? And if I can help those people, I'm like, here's a list of things you can do to get to the knowledge that I have. It's not, you could attain it. And this is what I always say. Are you willing to put the work in? And if I had to name this live stream, it would be put the work in. What do you got to say about imposter syndrome?
Man, listen. I mean, you explained it, man. I mean, gosh, that's exactly what it is. It was, it's always us looking at the people in front of us or people that we admire, right? And never really taking into account all the people that are looking at us. And that was the thing for me. And maybe it's not like looking, it's anyone looking behind, but it is kind of like that because it's other people who are trying to come up in the ranks of where you are, where you're sitting and saying, man, I want to be like Andre. And I'm constantly saying, I want to be like this person. Um, and it's always, and once you take that focus off of them, and then you just start doing an assessment of how many people come to you for information, how many people come from you to you for guidance, and then just really just saying, well, wait a minute, I mean, I don't think the organizations I've worked for would have paid me if I wasn't as good as, if I wasn't that good, because clearly it was showing my work. Every project that I've ever been tasked, I've executed it successfully. Nothing is perfect, but I definitely I know how to fly a plane. I definitely know how to land a plane when it comes to tasks
Hans
duties and things
says
like that.
hello to everyone at DEF CON Black Hat. He goes, I recall having to work for free to like get all the information, get the things that he needed to move on to his next thing. And that is a good insight into, hey, think about internships. I know there was a question on YouTube by Nanda Kumar. Try to get an internship. Work for free. If you can't work for free, double it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, is there a part-time job you could make ends meet? This industry is ripe. We're looking for talent. It doesn't matter where you are located on this globe. And
Yep.
I am blessed. If there's anything that I would say, you can always reach out to myself or Dre, as we mentioned earlier. We'll help you. Like that this game has given us so much that we're willing to help in any way, in anything you need. You want to add on to that, Dre?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, like I told you, I think like I feel like my life's mission as far as my career goes is, you know, I'm I'm good in what I do. I am looking at and I talk to you often about things that I'm like working on leveling up in. I want to be better in web app security, web app security, and I've been looking at bug bounty stuff. So like I'm looking at other areas in this whole thing where I'm like, okay, you know what, I've done this whole blue team stuff. That's cool. I like there are other things, the research, because I had a background in that working at West Coast Labs, looking at getting back into that and seeing how that's changed. But like I feel like my life's work as far, in cybersecurity and infosec, as some of us call it, is to be a conduit and a resource for those who are trying to find their way. If I can help light their path, that's what I'll do.
So
That's
Hans
what I'm here
said
for.
he did work study. He kept working. He was a cab driver. He kept on moving, and he got to where he's at today by just trusting the process. And that's what I would say to everyone out there: trust the process.
Yep.
One thing I want to shout out everyone that's watching. We have people on LinkedIn. They have stood strong. We continue to have people come in and out. We're taking every question you have in terms of infosec, getting a job in the industry, what it looks like, how can we provide value to you guys, and that's what it is. We're right now 1 hour and 30 minutes strong on this live
Man, this
stream.
is supposed to be a half an hour,
It
but
was
okay.
supposed to be a half an hour, but it's taken more. And Dre, let me ask you
You know how much I love talking to you anyway, bro. You know how our weekend
I'll take
conversations
it
get, man.
every day. How has it been for you working in this industry now for so many years? How have you grown as a person and matured? Because I've seen you. I feel like I said, it was a community into an industry, and it's blown up now. And I've seen your growth. You've grown exponentially in your career, growing to heights that people dream of. You're super successful, but very humble. You know what I'm saying? So, what did it take to get you to your level on where you're at today?
I mean, gosh, this conversation has been awesome. It's been trusting the process. Like when you said that, I was like, I tell people that all the time. Trust the process, no matter what. And so it was always like saying, okay, gosh, this doesn't make like it doesn't look like it's going to make like this is going to turn out the way I think it is. But you know what? I'm already down this path. Let me see where it goes. And then doors and opportunities opened up. You know, in my current organization where I work, I've worked with a lot of these folks in the past. And it was from work that I had done when we worked on a previous team that led me to where I am now. And it's always, and that's another thing, I was suffering from imposter syndrome, not knowing that other folks in other departments from a previous organization that we all worked in, when this opportunity came up, they're like, "Hey, you were the first person we were thinking about." I'm like, "Whoa, cool, wow." That says a lot. So just letting my work stand, and just be, I always talk about being my true authentic self. That's how I want people to see me. Um, you know, um, and that is also being true and authentic in the work that I do. Really put it like I put my heart and my soul into finding solutions for the organization. I take it very personal. The work that I do, true and authentic in the work, and I think I let that show. When I'm tasked with something and a project that they see, like, hey, like I don't take it lightly, and it's all because this this field has just done so much for me, and I just feel like I can't um, I can't like I want to be at my best in whatever I do, and so it's just really just um, making myself available to people is another thing. But yeah, man, I sometimes I'm often surprised at my growth and what I've done. And you know what? And the other thing, like I said, is I suffer from having confidence in myself. But I still fight with it, but being very confident in the work that in my skill set.
Listen, I always say, fake it until you make it. And I'm stealing that quote from, for me, at least, from Tony Robbins, where he's like, maybe you don't have the confidence, but fake it till you make it, where you tell yourself positive things so then you can upgrade and elevate yourself and put you in a position to win. Now, Hans is commenting. He's there. He's going ham. He goes, "Anyone, please believe in yourself." I'm reading his quote, and he goes, "I would like to ask if you know of anyone like myself that has worked in any academic setting and wants to go corporate." Because he's been in academia for years, and like it's like you know Hans is very special to me because he's done so much. He's been in my life so much, you know, and he's putting that out to the world. And what I would tell Hans is, excuse my French, but it's time to get out of academia because there's so many jobs out there for you. And now with COVID, you don't ever have to like decide to stay in academia. You could do what you want. And he replied right now, and I love this is why I love live chats. He goes, always think positive and daydream of what you want to do. And he just replied, yes, I know what you're talking about. So move.
Yeah.
It's COVID. It's
Um,
COVID. You don't need to be in the office. You could be in Hawaii. You could be in Puerto Rico and, work. There isn't a problem. So, I'll let you know. I'll be in Puerto Rico on Saturday. I'll be working out of Puerto Rico. I'm taking my laptop. I'm taking everything. And I'm going to be remote for a week. I have to take care of some stuff over there. But this is why I'm telling everyone. This game is for you to grow. If the company you're at doesn't like want to bend to your needs, you can find another company out there to like work with you. And that's why I love cybersecurity, man. It's given me so much. I am always indebted. This is why I was at I wrote in the book of Marcus's carry book for the Red Teamers, as well as Tribe of Hackers. So I was
Cyber hackers, yeah.
yeah, 2 out of the 3 books I was in, and I loved it, man. It was amazing to share my experience and what I've done, and I will keep on doing it. And Hans, you're a brother to me. I love you. He's on here chatting. Anything on you want to share?
Or Hans, Hans, man. I just want to say to all my friends that are on the live stream today, thank you for your support and your love. I truly appreciate it. You know, I'm without words. I thank you for your support. A lot of you may not know, but yeah, you guys are motivators and the things that I do. You guys, some of the spaces that I've been in with some folks out there that know me. Um, I really appreciate. I just appreciate you guys for just having my back. It's important. Hans, I'll speak on. I'll speak on. You know. Your question. I was in a job in security, and I wanted to kind of make that role that transition from security testing and validation and stuff to the corporate side. And I thought that was going to be a hindrance to me, and it wasn't. It was actually going from that um, and it was Symantec. I went from West Coast Labs to Symantec, and I was like, okay, now I don't want to be a security tester and researcher. Now I want to be a senior security engineer. I'm like, how the heck am I going to make that transition? And during the interview process, my director, my boss, the director at the time who interviewed me, he was like, it was all of the stuff that you had said about your testing and security testing expertise that made us want to put you in this job. He was like, because, when we deploy something, and we need to do a POC and do a validation of it, you already know some of the processes that take place, some of the things that we should be looking for. And those skill sets have taken me a long way. That a lot of skill sets from that job have taken me a long way. They've given me the ability to walk into a place and maybe I didn't have some of the skills that they were looking for, but then I talk about some of the things I was doing at a particular company that I'm like, oh, it was that thing right there that you pointed out. Look, man, you know what? You let your work speak for itself on your resume. And then really at the end of the day, when you go into an interview, you just, as long as you can, and I have no doubt that you can, you are a product and a brand, man. You are in this field, you've been in this field, you go out there and you sell your knowledge and your ability to do the tasks in this field. And really that's it, man. You just go at it. Don't give up. Don't
Any
give up.
any last words, Dre, before we get out of here?
Man, it's been a while, huh?
It's been
No, man. Thank you for
we on 2 hours, and I love it.
no. Thank you for having me on your on Hack Chat with Sentinel One. Migos, he's been so helpful. Thank you for your boss, your manager. He's been great making sure that I was comfortable getting here. Thank you for the opportunity, man. I know we try not to make it technical. I mean, yeah, if anybody wants to follow me on LinkedIn or Instagram,
Yeah,
you're more than
he's
welcome to
on
reach out
Twitter.
to me.
He's Drazy815. On LinkedIn, you could follow him on Andre Hall, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's, I'm sure if you reach out to him, he will answer anything that any questions you have. Dre, thank you, man. You know how much you mean to me. Love you, bro. This is the flowers that I get to give you. Yeah, you guys don't know. I'll give you a little story before we finish this off. I went 2010 to his house, and I was there for 3 weeks. And the first day I got there, it was his birthday. We had like a little, no, the second day. We had a get together. His friends I met them and everything. 3 weeks into it, he had another little get together, and his friend was like, "You're still here, bro?" And I knew, I'm like, "Oh man, I need to get out." And he told me, he was like, "No, it's okay, it's cool." But I was like, you know what? He's right. So thank you for letting me stay in your house for 3 weeks.
Man, listen, we had just bought the house too, so
I
like,
know, I
man,
know. I
you're our first house
appreciate you.
guest. So and it was no problem, man.
I know.
I knew I look, and that's sometimes it's about the friendships that you have, and man, our friendship we've had a long friendship,
Solid,
and I
solid.
and I knew that stay there was going to do you some good, man, because it did me some good, and look at the path it took you on. So
I
like
agree.
I often stand in the living room and think about that conversation we're having, and saying, man, this is where Marco's career, as far as it really just started to just jumpstart, man. I mean, it
Yeah.
really just took off. It catapulted from there.
I
And I
I
was glad, that I could just experience
I
that with you, man.
concur. And Dre, like Dre, Hans, you know, both of you have meant so much to me, and every time I go to SoCal, it's like I can't leave without visiting you. Before COVID really popped off, I visited Cali, and we went to like Disney, and I was like, I'm staying at this hotel. We need to link up before I leave. So much love. Thank you, everyone. We still have a lot of viewers on there. I think we covered enough. The questions have died down, and I greatly appreciate this. This is why I wanted to have this last, conversation. He was specifically scheduled as the last person today because I knew it was going to be long because there was so much to cover, and I greatly appreciate it. It's more than a friendship. It's a brotherhood, and I look up to Dre as an older brother. And my God, thank you for everything you've done for me, for my career, my family, and I'm looking forward to when we're old in our 80s in that rocking chair, my friend.
I'm much closer to 80 than you are right now. I'm like,
It's all good. We'll be in
no, I'm
that
kidding,
rocking chair
brother.
together, brother. Thank
Yeah,
you.
listen, man. Look, I appreciate it, man. Love to all the people here on the live stream. Man, I appreciate you. Love you, man. Anytime, man. Anytime you will have me again. Um, we
Absolutely.
can talk. We can get down and dirty into the more technical stuff. But I appreciate these a lot more because like I want people to just see that beyond cyber, there's true friendships and bonds that are created. And then
That is the
I'm so
truth.
proud of you, man. So
That is
so hats off to you.
and thank you, Dre. And just to emphasize on what you just said, Dre, Hans are one and two of the 100 of family members that I've garnered over my course of my career in cybersecurity. You know, there's Chris, there's Jason, there's so many people that have become friends and family members through this industry that have touched me. Marcus, Carrie, or everyone over there. Hopefully, I can share that story with them. But until next time, tomorrow's gonna be special. I'm telling you now, it's gonna be Black Hat FOMO, fear of missing out. So thank you, Dre. Man, I know you
Love you,
helped
brother.
out so many people, and thank